What's up, PokerVT? This is Jon Ettinger, Soccer Mom 5 on Full Tilt. It's been a while since I've produced any videos. I apologize for that, but I hear people on the forums are definitely clamoring for some more cash game material. So today I thought I'd bring you guys a live video of 1-2 Rush Poker. I'll be playing two tables, so we should see a lot of hands and hopefully a lot of interesting spots to talk about. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So here we go. I really like the Rush poker games for, as I probably have mentioned before, I really like the Rush poker games for 100 deep, 6 max, just because I think it eliminates a lot of the sort of game selection downtime. So normally when I'm playing, it takes a while to find attractive games, and you really can't emphasize enough how important it is to find games where there are fish at the tables. And sometimes the 1-2 Rush games aren't the best games just because you see a lot of regulars, and sometimes the fish play a lot tighter. But I like the fact that I don't have to waste time finding the best tables at a given stake. I can just jump right in if I want to play a short session. Here, right off the bat, we get check raise on a queen 2-5 board. We're just going to go ahead and bet, call the flop. No real reason to expect that we're behind too often here. Obviously, Troll Pie could have sets, but I don't really even expect him to have, say, a hand like ace queen on the flop. Now, when he does go ahead and barrel on the turn ace, I think he's got to realize that we've got a lot of aces in our range. So, sorry, a lot of sort of ace queen in our range. So when he barrels this card, and particularly when he barrels it pretty big, I do expect to see maybe some sort of a flush draw with a reasonable frequency, maybe like a Jack 10 suited or something like that he's now betting pretty hard. But I think it's actually going to be made hands more often than anything else. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give him credit here when he does check raise and then follow it up. I probably would have called a blank card. And I think this also gives me, I think it's also very reasonable to check back this flop as the under the gun raiser with a hand like King Queen, planning on just calling two streets. Because if we look at Troll Pie's stats here, well, I guess the stats are gone, but I did notice that going over my HUD stats, this number right here, the 67 here, Troll Pie over my reasonably small sample size was folding to a lot of C-bets. And so if he's folding to a lot of C-bets, what that means is I don't really expect to get called too light. A player like that might be folding even like an underpair to the board, like a hand like pocket nines when I'm under the gun. And so, and he's probably not going to be paying off multiple streets all that light. And so I might not be able to, I don't need to bet the flop with King Queen there because I don't really need to protect my hand. Since there are not that really, the only card that I'm really unhappy to see is an ace. And if he's not calling very light, I might be able to get more value by playing bluff catcher in position with a hand like King Queen. Now, if I had ace queen, part of my thought process would be I'm going to try to get value from King Queen specifically, and so I might be more inclined to bet ace queen on that queen high board than I would King Queen. I'm just going to go ahead and donk three ways with this hand, and I'm just going to go ahead and c-bet here with my open-ended straight draw. We get raised pretty big here. We're going to give him credit. I guess he limped behind a fish, so I mean he could have two pairs there, like an 8-7 type hand. He could have even, I'm talking about this hand right here. I wouldn't be surprised if he limps behind with sort of those small pocket pairs, so I wouldn't be shocked to see a set. I mean, he could be semi-bluffing a flush draw, but if that's the case, then, I think we're just going to have to give him the hand once we donk there. I'm going to go ahead and defend sixes here in the big blind. We don't want to be defending this. We don't want to be necessarily defending this out of the small blind, even though we do have a pocket pair, but since we're not closing the action. But here with the pot odds and closing the action, I think we can just comfortably call. And we're really folding a lot of flops. We're sort of largely set mining with pocket sixes there. So zipping along here. This is a hand that I would normally raise in the button 7-8 offsuit, but we've got an under the gun limper, and if we notice this under the gun limper is pretty tight. He's 28-2, so I definitely expect this player to be capable of limp re-raising. I definitely, don't expect to be ahead of his range, or even, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be ahead of his range with 7-8 offsuit, so I don't really see any reason to isolate raise against a player like that. Now, if it's something if it's, say, some player more like this guy, who's 50 to 12, then we can maybe isolate with a very wide range and just, c-bet and take it down a lot on the flop. But against a tighter player, I don't really like to isolate a tighter limper. I don't love to isolate raise with a hand as weak as 7-8 offsuit. So we're just standard c-bet here, 3/4 pot with aces. And the 10's not a great card to see for, so I actually don't mind making a play like, no, I take this. I think it's just, I think it's a pretty decent card to double barrel for value. Just because I expect him to have a lot of hands like 10 jack or something that he's just going to be check calling with on the turn. I don't know where my HUD went here. Now the queen, I think now triple barreling would be too thin with aces, so I'm just actually going to go ahead and check it back at this point. I'm going to head, I guess all right, so the plan here is to check raise the 5s. I'm going to go ahead and try to get my my HUD going again at table 2. I don't really know what happened to it. And because the pot's pretty small, we're going to go ahead and make it relatively big to the size of his bet, so we'll make it 21. He sort of insta-folds, and we don't expect him to continue too light there, but we're definitely not expecting him to fold a queen either. Here, it looks like we got the HUD back here, so. This player seems to be folding an absurd amount to 3-bets, so we'll go ahead and make it, I'd make it pretty big here, out of position relative to the size of bet. The risk for reward's not great because I'm risking 14 to win 7, so it needs to work 2/3 of the time, but I do expect to get a lot of folds there. With the ace 10, I'm actually going to go ahead and lead. I think given that this is a limp pot, I expect my 10 kicker to be good a lot of the time. I don't really love check calling and then letting them see a free turn card, so I'm going to go ahead and donk out for value here. And, now that we get some action, I'm just going to obviously go ahead and fold my hand. Here, pretty standard c-bet with the 10-9 suited. I'm going to make it sort of on the small side because the big blind here is a relatively short stacked player, so we don't need to be betting too big here. Our c-bets can be small as a default. And we really can't continue with this out of position. We also have to notice that edge is raised with another player left to act, so he's not going to be super light here either. So we're just actually going to go ahead and fold the flush draw. And if we notice, he also makes his raise relatively large, so we really have no choice but to fold. Pocket 3s, I think we have the option. So I flatted pre-flop. I think we could turn it into a bluff here. I'm just going to try to check it down. Just show down my hand. And if he's got a hand like ace king or ace 10, I don't really expect him to bluff. I think there is a lot of merit in turning this hand into a bluff here, though, to try to get a fold out of like pocket 8s. But I don't know that he's folding pocket 8s on the turn, and I'm not really ready to barrel several streets to get him to fold those types of hands. So I'm just going to check it down, and I expect to see. Okay, so we see pocket 2, so we're pretty lucky to have the best hand there.